Great. Let's have this then cut here.
Okay, it's your recording.
Okay. 18th Street.
So I'll do a welcome first. Okay, so welcome to the 136th annual exhibition panel, artist panel discussion. For anybody who doesn't know, now is 136 years old, founded by 5 artists in 1889. Anita C. Ashley, Adele Francis Vidal, Elizabeth Cheever, Grace Fisbando, and Edith Mitchell Province. Good, finally memorized. So they got together and I believe it was in Union Square when they first started, and they started this whole thing off, and somehow we have lasted all this time. And now we have current members, and these 2 seats will be filled. They're currently stuck in traffic. And we're going to start off with Lola asking some general questions, and then depending on how much time you have, you know, we'll get through those and then hopefully get to some specifically pointed questions to the individual artists. So welcome, you, Stephen. Yes.
I think Robert's.
Oh, they're here? Oh, good. We introduce, well, we'll start at, on that end, is Pamela Flynn. Come on up, have a seat. Her piece is over here in this corner. Sorry, that's okay. That's okay. We just started. We just started and we're recording, so let's have a seat and we'll introduce them now. So on that, Norway on that is Lola Stanton, who is Anita Stanton, who is the one of the membership co-chairs, and she is going to help me present the questions. So the panel itself is Pamela Flynn and Deborah Friedman and Katya Leonovich, Pauline Chernobyl, Robin Proctor, and Sarah Katz. So with that, it's over to you, Lola.
Okay, who should I start with?
You can start on one end and go down to the other end.
I'm gonna start with Sarah. Sarah, how long have you been an hour member?
5 years.
5 years. And
Six. Sorry.
what is the one benefit that keeps you engaged with your organization?
Meeting the other members.
Yeah.
I'm very inspired by how many members are being so sincerely, and I'm just always energized by the devotion.
If you're a sculptor, what is your art training?
I have a degree in ceramics from the School for American Craftsmen and Arts. Pictures up and I'm just reading sculpture from California College of the Arts. So I went both to grad school and then art school, and then I continued, you know, taking anatomy classes and working with model. There's this process.
And what inspires you most as an artist?
You know, I have so many sources of inspiration and so many ways of working that it's just hard to sort of be specific, because you could start, I could start, I would say the top one, I have an idea. I know how I'm gonna make it. I go into my studio, everything goes perfectly, and then people look at it and they said, I know, just wait. And the hardest one is when I just have to lock myself in my studio and sweep the floor or read a magazine until I come up with something.
Describe your medium.
I work mostly with ceramic. I like it, I'm a potter as well as a sculptor. I have worked with other materials, I mean, I have cast bronze and I've made things out of wood and forged metal and lead. But I really know ceramics best and I love the colors.
You love the what?
The colors
Oh, I see.
that has to do with glazes.
Thank you.
And I love to work with models too.
All right, thank you. Next one is Robin.
I have my notes. I've been a member of NAWA since, it'll be 15 years. Do you want me to just, you wanna go?
What is that one benefit that keeps you engaged with the organization?
Well, I like the opportunity to apply to the different shows, show my work, get out there. And I'll obviously meet other artists as well.
Yeah, that's very good. What is your art training?
I have a BFA graphic design from Boston University, which included 2 years of foundation sculpture painting, and then 2 years of graphics. After college, I took advertising classes at School of Visual Arts, and over the years, classes in printmaking and sculpture at the Old Church in Demarest. I feel like I'm answering the same thing, what inspires me. I do a lot of photographs, especially when we go away. We go to St. John every year, so I'm always taking pictures of nature, and then I've done a lot of line of cuts with nature and from St. John. I love going to museums. I started cutting up my linos a few years ago and printing them and sewing things, and I had gone to a Matisse show and I saw the cutouts and I was like, I could do something with cutouts, and that inspired me. And with printmaking, I started out with linos with Penny and that summer and continued, and that's probably my first love. And I love doing collagraphs for the texture and the shapes and what you could create. It's kind of freeing. And
What's a holograph?
Oh yes, what's a collagraph? It's material, so glued into like a substrate, a hard material, and you could put glue on there and other textures in paper, and then you put gesso over it, and it'll have to be kind of even, but you still see all the textures and so forth. And then you put like a polyurethane, and then you mostly print it as an intaglio, which is the ink is pushed into the work and print it. And I mean, I use
the press, so.
yes, well, yeah, the easiest, the best way is to use the press. It's very hard to get impressed. It's kind of hard to do that, impressed. And yeah, so I really enjoy doing those. I love doing monoprints and monotypes, which should I say that monoprints are, I paint a single image, with, sorry, that's okay. Mostly on Plexi and printed, that's a one-time print. That's it. And monoprint, which is what I have basically here, I call it a dry point. I etched into Plexi, and then I inked it as an intaglio and printed it. And
What do you etch with?
a scribe, a scribe. And yeah, I love doing that too. So they're all things that I love, and they're all different, and different subjects, and that's what I like about it. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Pauline?
Hi, I've been a member of NAWA, I think, around 9 years. But what was special about becoming a member was we were,
That's an idea.
at the time, the group of us, we were initiated into the organization at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was so nice. I remember that, it was a great day to walk downstairs in the educational department. They had this huge auditorium and they showed our work on stage. It was a very special experience. Some of the benefits of belonging to NAWA You also?
It's more than that.
Tell me.
No, I'm not thinking of the timeline. I don't remember.
I
it.
thought it was about 9 years, could
I
be.
think maybe
No, it's
Maybe
more.
Okay.
I think it's a lot.
I think it's a lot of
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun,
Yeah,
Oh, so,
yeah.
that's fine.
You told me it could have been 20 years. He said it was a long time.
No, time.
Well, mine graduation ceremony was at the Rubin Museum.
Mine was
It
about-
was in twenty
Yeah.
fifteen.
Yeah, it was before the Rubin, because I remember going to the Rubin Museum, and you're saying when?
2015,
Yeah, mine was.
Oh, so it had been before, so maybe I've been a member for like 20 years. Years. I did do my research. Tell you.
Doesn't matter.
Just what's
I
that?
remember and that's all for now.
And this is why I love NAWA. Because of all the people here, and we connect, and I've made such wonderful friendships, Penny, and you over here.
That is, your connections are the one benefit that you,
Really, it's really, yeah, and of course, there's something, the exhibitions were wonderful. So, and my work here, I feel so good about receiving such a wonderful honor. And let's see what else.
your art training.
Oh, my art training, well, I can go all the way back to when I was a toddler. Do you want me to go all the way back there? Because scribbles that my father and mother said I still have. I went through the New York City public school system, best years of my art life. At the time, because I'm a little up there in age, at the time, they had a fabulous art program. They used to take us to museums, and that's where really a light bulb went into my head, and I saw El Greco's Toledo, and I think it was like in 4th grade, and I said, okay, that's it. And anyway, and then of course, I took some art classes in Ridgewood. They have at the time in Ridgewood, they still have them, right? And then I went to several universities. I graduated with an art degree, and then I decided to pursue photography. So I went to NYU and got an ICP, which is the International Center for Photography, and I took photography classes. And I even went to the art center when the art center was located on James Street, Tenafly. That's how long ago. And then of course I was influenced, and was mentored by a couple of wonderful, well-known artists. Faith Ringgold was a very close friend of mine. So, and then what inspired me as an artist? What inspires me, I guess, all this. When I look here, everything to me is like a picture. I feel as if when I see something, I snap it, and so it's me trying to understand the world. Trying to understand my place in the world. Also, let's see.
So you're a photographer.
Well, no, I'm a painter.
You're a painter.
I'm a painter. I always was a painter, but I did interrupt my painting to become a photographer. I can tell you the reason if you have time. I don't know.
Well,
Because I can tell you what.
Let's get to that with my question.
Okay.
because I've seen your paintings, but I didn't realize it would be photography.
Okay, so you want me to continue?
No, I think
We're done with me?
No.
Get back to you.
So, Katya?
Katya Leonovich.
Katya Leonovich. Oh, how many years have you been a member of NAWA?
1 year.
And what is the one benefit, well, you're not. I cannot ask you any question because you don't assume that.
Yeah. I don't watch me asking.
The one benefit that keeps you engaged with NAWA?
I don't know yet. But, Van Gogh, he wants to be with a group of artists.
and never happened. And when I came last year to the luncheon in art club, I saw so many women artists, sculptors, and I like, wow, the energy was like, and I thought, I want to be with them. At that time, I I was changing this space for this space, and I thought, I would have to be with me.
Oh, thank you.
And we are so thrilled to be here. And what is your art training?
I was baby, like the art school for bambini, babies, art college together with my high school. Same, I was at high school, and I was going in the evening to this school, fashion academy in Moscow. Fashion academy in Moscow at that time, it was not like specific about fashion. There was a lot of, we paint, we design, we sketch, we draw, they give me, basically to begin with, I want to be just artist, but it was all complete, education. So after this, I came out both, artist and fashion designer. And then also I win some competition of fashion design. At that time, I'm very old, at that time. Fashion was very, forward, kind of thing. And so I win competition in Italy, etc. So I have some training also in Istituto Europeo Design in Italy, in Rome, that also both artistic and fashion. But basically they didn't give me anything. I kind of, you know, I can train myself. When I came there, I just have a possibility to have like nude model, or go somewhere and have some experience in nature. But let's say self-made, 90%.
And what inspires you to do that? What?
Inspiring. Well, recently, actually, I love men. Sorry for this. I love anatomic, I love bodies. And as much as I admire women spiritually, but as a construction, I think man is like more constructed, and it's easier to draw or paint them. Plus, they're not capricious. They say, oh, I look bad, I don't look bad. So they're okay with me. So I'm fine with them, They really, they don't complain. So also I love animals so much. I mean also, say because everything also it's combination of fashion, that I was working with the bodies, men and women as well. So the construction of the body is the most beautiful thing in the world. And animals, it's very similar as well. And I love animals, so any animals, even cockroaches. You know what? Because they have a beautiful color. Look how to make this brown color so pretty. Look at the cockroach. Wow, wonderful. So, everything alive, my inspiration.
Nice, I guess, it's there. So I saw your exhibition here. What is your medium?
Oh, I paint in oil, acrylics, watercolor, and sometimes I made something like
And
a
the
sculpture, yeah,
Yeah.
uh, how you say, beautiful garbage.
Well, thank you so much. Let's go on to.
I've never free again. I've been a member at least a dozen years. I also was at my induction at the Rubin Museum. It was great, beautiful. Now they're defunct, they're online. And I love being a member of NAWA because NAWA, I'm a member of several groups. NAWA has the most diverse venues in all across the country and all different types of venues. It's great opportunities. I was even participated in a new hotel in Long Island City, a loft hotel. And also the diverse members, the ranges of types of work and the people, the women are all, it's so great to see the women out there letting their self-expression out and living their dream, which is what I'm doing, living my dream as an artist. I would have to say that I'm inspired by the school of life. Anything can inspire me, anything and everything. I've always had the ability, when I see something, I can interpret it in various ways and see different things in it and use that, incorporate that in my art. My first life, I always say I was a nurse. And I bring a lot of anatomy and physiology into my work. I was always doing art since I was a kid, always trying different things and learning. I studied privately. I mentored with two people. One was Les Zacharian. He was an artist at the comic book artist at, where was it? My husband's at Marvel Comics. And then the other was TJ Don Levy. He was a patient of mine who I became friendly with. He was a modernist master. And then I studied at the Art Students League under various teachers. And I always experiment. And I say a lot of my work is self-taught through trial and error. I do sculpture, mixed media, and painting. And recently a friend of mine said, oh, one of my instructors said, you should really just stick to one medium. And I thought that was a terrible thing to say, because my work feeds off, each medium feeds off the other. When I do assemblage work, I do paper 2D assemblage, and that'll feed into my 3D assemblage and sculpture. And then the painting background enables me to incorporate the sculpture into 3-dimensional dioramas and backgrounds and to paint my figures. And I really believe that in order to be an artist, you have to have self-confidence, because you're putting yourself out there. You're digging into yourself and creating something that you feel is worthy of being viewed. And so I give all the women in this organization a lot of credit, because we are all putting ourselves out there. We are all trying to improve the world through beauty and to make stimulation and to make you think. So my work always, I feel, it's never, to me, I don't like boring work. My work always has to stimulate, and a lot of it can shock. It's a range from whimsical to darkly humorous. And the main thing I feel is that we are so lucky to have all these different mediums and tools at our disposal, and that we live in a country that's free for expression. Well, not that way. But just to be able to connect to your soul and give a perspective to a higher source and to tune into the universe. And what I find funny is a lot of times I'll do a piece and then I'll see other people doing similar kind of things. And I think it's all out there in the ether and we're all tapping into it. And of course, nothing is new under the sun. So things are being recycled, ideas and materials. And that's one of the things I love about NAWA is that there's such differences among all the members, and but yet we're all working together.
All right, okay, I'm Pamela Flynn, and I've been a member for 4 years. And what I find really great is the opportunities plus the friendships with everybody. And the service opportunities are good too.
Your training?
My training, pretty normal kind. I went to undergraduate, I was at Monmouth University, I was an art major, and my concentration was painting and sculpture. Then I moved for a master's at Keene University, and my concentration was printmaking and painting. And then I went for my MFA at New Jersey City University, and my concentration was painting and drawing, which makes me a generalist, which was very good because I teach in a university. And if you're going for a job like that, having that diversity and yeah, a little of everything.
And what inspires you to write?
Okay, so my work centers around cultural and society issues, not political, just day-to-day kind of things, and I'll see something and it will bother me, or just sort of like I'll fester on it, like this piece I have here is about the fires, and I would think they would sit in my mind for like months. And I would keep thinking, how do I bring this to a visual? How do I bring it to a series visual, not just one painting, but a series? After that, work in series. And it takes a while for that. And I just sort of let it fester. And after sketches, I'm always sketching. And my sketches, I keep thousands of sketches, they turn into paintings. So I guess day to day, and what's in my mind is what inspires me. So.
Okay, so, I'm gonna take it from here. I wanna just, well, thank you for the intros. I wanna just add in that this group of 6, all of them are award winners in this exhibition. We didn't say that up front, but they all have awards. And so that was the pool from which we did our invitations, and there's 48 awards, so there's 42 award winners who are not on the panel, but you know, they're spread out across the country because that's where we are, but I just wanted to add that in. And now I'm gonna ask some specific questions, and I think I'll start with Pamela, since she just started. So if you look closely at the piece here, it's made almost entirely of sea beads. So my first question is, where is it? Yeah, Jackie's pointing to it. So the first question is, how do you do all of it? What do you use a tweezer? Do you use a needle? How do you?
I use a pen tool, and I pick up each bead individually, dip it into Arlene's clear craft glue, and glue each one on, and they follow this pattern, and I'm very fussy if one doesn't fit. I had to manipulate things around so that it fits, the pattern keeps going. It's a little crazy, maybe. It takes a long time. I have that was part of 5. So they took a long time to get all 5 of them done. They're all the same size and all different trees in each one.
So 5, there's 5 in that series.
Yes,
5 of those
paintings, and then there's other works, there's sculptures and works on paper. It's very contemplative work. I mean, I take that because you think and you think why you're doing the series, and actually that develops
your thought process on the series. Because when I started, it was about the fires. And then as I finished, it became more about that, the after images from a nuclear bomb, so that was left. So it evolved, and that was evolving in my mind, and that didn't start that way after 1001 Beads. That's where.
Remind us the title, because the title sort of says, right? The title of this piece,
Yeah, when the chart, only the chart are left, yes.
when only the charge, when only the charge, CHARRET are left.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
and it says black one.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a big, big black.
How long did it take?
I don't know.
Her whole life,
That's what I always
I
say.
didn't have it.
Oh, life.
Actually, beads I use, so I know to like order, but, at one point, because people always ask me how long does it take, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll lie, but.
No,
It's not. Yeah, it actually bothers my hand here. You go to your whole beard, you know, so that I have to.
Yeah.
Back it a little bit and then go to painting or something, or for work something.
So speaking of painting, so you work also as a painter with paint.
Yes,
So tell us about the work you do
so
in that medium.
yeah, I sort of consider myself an oil painter, and that's where I started from and what I always sort of come back into. But if the painting doesn't work for what I'm trying to say, then I use something else. I don't use beads in all my paintings, so my paintings don't have room for beads, they're just filled.
But what made you think of these to apply with this?
I was doing some work, I stitch on paper a lot, and I use sequins, and the beads to me are right. So I'm working with all these serious issues, and I think are serious, and I'm using trite, cranky beads, so I like that contrast of, and that's a contrast in our lives. The trite and the serious, it's always like pushing together. So that was one of the things that I really started embracing the beads because of that. And then I like the sculptural part of it, because when you look from the side, your background comes forward and your foreground comes back. And that to me is very interesting, how what's behind pushes out. So, yeah, yeah.
Very philosophical. So. So the response to the fires is kind of like an emotional trigger. Is that accurate?
No, not emotional.
Okay.
Person who lays overseas is probably not that emotional. So, no, not emotional, like trying to figure out how we respond to that, how we respond to issues. I did roadkill, whole series on roadkill and on shrines, road shrines. Like, why do we as a people respond certain ways? So what happens when everything gets burned out? What do we do about that? You know, we just have to see universal.
So it's a universal one.
Yeah,
It's not just one particular.
right,
like,
exactly,
talk about.
exactly, and
And
that's
that's what makes it so great, because we're not just talking about one specific, we're talking about a universal.
right. Yeah, and that's how it ended up going to Hiroshima, that's how it pushed its way out, because it's all that becomes very universal.
So would you say that's typical of the type of inspirational topics that you choose then?
Yes, yes, I mean, when I did the the roadkill, so, and I actually got the puppet grant for that one. That wasn't for that was the road sign, but the roadkill is about, the road doesn't kill the animals. We're eliminating where they can go, and so then they end up on the road, and then we end up running over, so why do we call them road? You know, what is that about? Us? We remove ourselves from that process, I think, that's what interests me, I just that, you know.
There is somebody I follow on Instagram, and she actually goes back, she sees the animals on the road and pulls them to the side and does like a little, like flowers, and that, like, gives them meaning, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures of dead deer or dead animal.
Yes.
I would have to stop inside, and then when I did the road shrines. And we were always like, if I saw a road shrine, we gotta pull over.
Yeah.
Art,
Yeah, she
pull
does
over and
it
take
with
the road
the
shrine
shrine.
picture. Yeah.
Amazing, beautiful action.
Okay, Deborah. Moving on. So you talked a little bit about humor. I think you called it dark humor. And I've always been impressed with the cleverness of your assemblages, like how you turn found objects into other kinds of imagery, and somehow there's always something humorous about them, or almost always. So can you just talk about that a little bit? Like how does that work for you? What do you start with?
Well, I'm always influenced and have in my mind pulp science fiction, 1950s toys. And a lot of that is, there's a lot of humor to that. You know, the toys that children use, how they are reflections of adult views of how children should be. And sci-fi, pulp sci-fi from the golden era, like in the 40s and 50s. Also had a facet of humor to it, and when they were coming up with all these ideas that they originated, you know, they're funny ideas, some of it, you know, because they're so weird or unusual. Anyway, I like to have weird in my work.
So does Marvel Comics like work into that somehow?
I'm not so much a comic fan, but my friend was very an outside of the box thinker, which I've always been. I'm a lefty. I think that added a lot to it. And being outside the box is my shtick. You know, I don't like to do a normal portrait, let's say, or a normal still life. But I describe my work as whimsical to darkly humorous. So I'm not afraid of putting in really fun touches versus bloody touches. And I want the viewer to get a sense of fun and wonderment, because I'm always amazed at our world. You know, there's so much amazing about it, and beautiful and ugly and strange, and I just like to invite people to stretch their minds and go out and push their boundaries, and that's what I love to do in my work, just push boundaries.
So when you're, I think about your collages, there's like a lot of random imagery. And you put it together, it's almost surrealism or very juxtaposed.
Yes,
So talk about that.
I do a lot of collage work, and I have different series, like Pam said. And but my collage is very narrative. I don't like to just slap things here and there. There has to be a story behind it. And so I do cull images from all over the place. But they have, when I put them in front of me, they happen to come together and tell me what story they're trying to tell. And then I will take the paper font clippings and paint and draw over them to unify them into a story. One topical series I have is called Children of War, Trauma, and Tribulation, and I can't think of the word, and the survival. Trauma and survival in my Children of War series, where children are exposed to such horrific things nowadays, and yet they can overcome it. And so my series of Children of War is kind of a celebratory feeling of children and how they have to adapt to our world. So it can be there's a lot of fire and destruction in them, but ultimately the children survive.
Very beautiful. Thank you. Katya. First, I'm very curious about your sculpture. So can you tell us about that? Her sculpture is in the front hallway and it's the silver painted pieces of the guitar that are assembled. Can you explain where that inspiration came from?
Well, recently I made a show about country music. I was painting, different stuff, uh, the previous series, and I end up listening to country music. I mean, I'm in America like 16 years. I'm American, yes. I think it's the best country to go, by the way. uh, so I found out the country music is so cool. So, and painting some other series, I was thinking, I should make a series about country music. So I did, I think, 14 pieces about country musician. Some of them even, the portrait of, real ones. And so they're all men, mostly. No, they're all men. I paint men. But then I decide that it should be female there. So, and I was thinking about how can I do female. So I decided that female would be broken guitars. And yeah, I broke 3 guitars, reassembled it, fix everything and make composition. Somebody say kind of futuristic, but actually it's not. Because from my childhood, I have pretty good art school. So it was called the Merzbau. So Merzbau, it was created by Kurt Schwitter, a German artist that was actually one of the beginners of the Dada movement. So he called it Merz. Merz is like whatever you find, everywhere. And put it together, Bau. So like put together whatever, pieces of Merz, Unfortunately, he passed away 1948. And during the war, all his assemblage, all his creation was, destroyed. But in the art history, we still have some photos, some, some of this. So I don't know, from my childhood school, I remember Merzbau, when you put the pieces of something real and reassemble it in a different composition. So I call it Merzbau, and people are like, what is it? What is it? So it was not maybe so much in common, I don't know, but I remember it from my childhood. So anyway, so I decided women part of the show should be women. So, and that's why I call them, names of famous country musicians, women. So this one is Emily, Emily West. So that's his Emily. So you have Emily.
Something about that guitar shape too.
Exactly. Guitar shape was created as the woman shape. So men, they were on the walls. They were real, they were naked with everything. Sometimes. But women, maybe broken hearts. But they were very powerful. They were on the pedestals and also on the wall, as we put there also on the wall because it's all possibilities. So that was the idea.
Very interesting. Wow. And would you say you do more painting than sculpture, or which do you gravitate toward more, or it just depends on your whim?
When I just came to the art school as a baby, it was like one part was about painting, drawing, etc. The other was sculpture. And I had dilemma. Because I like both. Well, okay, I chose painting and drawing and printing and stuff like that. I always think about the sculpture. And when I graduated from Fashion Academy, actually, my passion was, I call it moving sculpture. So I didn't just, make simple dresses. I always play around. So sculpture, how you say, mentality was always in my head.
So you're thinking 2D and 3D.
Yes, yes, yes. And they are not only 3D, they were moving actually.
Right.
And also how they move. And the fabric was flowed, but it's still constructed, but it's not constructed stiff. It was much more difficult to make it also moving beautifully. So it was always here. It was always. Now I did for the new my show. You're all invited. So I did sculptures with leather, metal, and something else, and I stitch it by hand. So it's a little bit of echo of my fashion story, but with a new art form to give all the, pretty
So
stuff.
that's where you're going next. Very good. Really quickly. How did you decide to open your own gallery?
Why not?
It's big enough. What time is it, somebody?
Almost.
Why?
Yeah, we have some time, if people would, it said 7 to 8:30, right? We're good. Okay, why not? I love that answer, okay. Let's see, we're on Pauline. So, the photograph that you won the award for, we've talked about this already, but I'd like to share with everyone how you got that shot. Her photograph is the woman hanging out of the car, I think most people have seen it.
Yeah.
And we're very worried about her, but can you just talk about how you got that shot and what you feel about it?
Well, at the time I was, like I mentioned before, I was doing photography. And I'm more of a street photographer, I don't do studio work. So I had my 35mm digital Mark III, and wherever I went throughout the city, it would be hanging on me. And it's actually started getting heavy, but in any case, driving, I even took photographs driving. Yeah. Well, if I was at a stop sign or traffic light, pick up my camera and start shooting something. I was on the West Side Highway. And we were at a stop, middle of the traffic and everything, traffic just stood still. And I turned to my left and I see this girl hanging out of the window at the passenger side. And there's music blasting from her car, like rap music, and there were two guys in the car with her. And I started shooting, I took some shots. And what I love about it is her expression in her face, because it's a real mystery. If you think about it, I'm sure it was, very, very, she was having a great time, but her face, you don't know, you wonder whether it was kidnapped, and all these kind of things that go through your mind. So anyway, so that's my, and when I took it, I could feel that was a really good shot. Yeah, sometimes you just do feel it when it's natural, when you take photos, sometimes you go, wow, I really think that's a good picture, so.
And a mystery that we'll never know what happened there.
I'll never know.
I'm
sure she's fine, I'm sure.
I hope so.
I didn't see it.
I worry about her. I'm straight. Look at that.
Yeah, she's.
So I have this question for you as well.
Yeah.
To change the subject a little bit. So, Katya was talking about how she loves sculpture, she loves painting, and she couldn't decide, and And also Deborah is talking about the collages and her assemblages and how they feed each other. So like you have your painting and your photography, what is the relationship between those two practices for you?
I thought about that question, and I've thought about that question even before you presented it to me. Photography is something that I look out into the world, it's external. And I kind of like bring it in internally into myself. Painting on the other hand is like, for me, totally opposite. I have what's internal and I bring out to the world. So that it's, I mean, it's very simple, you know, it's like what's out there with photography, I bring in and I express it. And then I actually bring it back out to the world. But painting is different, painting just comes from,
That makes a lot of sense because I've always described her as sort of an expressionist, you know, her painting is very much expression and goes deep into internal issues, so good answer.
thank you.
You just make sure I didn't have one more for you, I think that was. Oh, when you have your camera at the ready,
Yeah.
are you looking for anything?
Looking for
particular?
Yeah, I am. As a matter of fact, I'm constantly looking. I'm looking right now.
Yeah,
Looking at what I can shoot.
So you're just posing,
It's just me. I just take pictures, so that.
even without your camera, though.
Even without my.
That's why
No, now
art is never has Alzheimer.
now I've got my camera. Now
What, what'd you say,
I
Kat?
say that's why artists never has Alzheimer. Alzheimer.
a time.
Because always-
It's true.
It's true. Okay, very good, Robin. So, you and I go way back. And we both studied watercolor with Denise Collins. So I know what that era was like,
You know,
and I know how I transitioned into printmaking. How did that happen for you? What was the transition? How did that happen?
Well, I had been I was doing freelance work in graphic design, but I was taking classes at the old church and painting, and I did some sculpture, and then it was the kind of thing like, maybe I'll do something different this summer. And I thought, oh, printmaking, I haven't done it since college, and it was very, the old the etchings with the acid, and it was very tense, and although I didn't do that much of it, and I thought, and I asked my younger daughter, do you want to do the class with me? And she was like, sure. So that's when we met Penny, and I did the class that summer, and I really loved it, and I loved the physical, we did liner cuts, and I loved the surprise of them, I loved the actual manipulating with the, you know, with the different cutting tools, and I really got into it, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna continue this in the fall. And that's when I was looking for class, so Dorothy, and I took her class with
Dorothy Cochran.
Dorothy Cochran, which is such an honor, because I got the Dorothy Cochran printmaking award, and I can't believe it, it's like full circle type of thing. And yeah, so it's just, I mean, it's a lot of years of that, and we had a lot of fun too. You know, so that's how I got into the whole printmaking thing, and finally got my own press 6 years ago, which I love, and it's nice having my own press. And so I got into it. And, yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, you've been talking about a lot of
Yes, I do.
So you do a lot of abstracts and you do a lot of more realistic
Realistic.
flowers. And-
Yeah, a lot of, yeah, my husband's saying, so many flowers, like, I don't know, they're pretty, I don't know.
No, I think it's,
You know, I'm doing a lot.
but what causes you to,
You know what, I'm not
straddle those?
I feel like it's kind of almost coming a little closer together, because yes, I still do, I'm doing a line cut now, it's pretty realistic. Having an iguana that I've been looking at forever on vacation, these pictures, and I'm like, but I don't know, like I sort of enjoy that focus of the realism on the lino, And I like being a little more frequent with colorgraph and the textures that I can create and, you know, that type of thing. But now they're sort of coming together in a way because I have my two draws of the prints that will never be. And I've been cutting them apart and sewing them together and printing over that with shapes I've cut out of the linos. I don't have a sample of it here, but I've been really getting into that and it's, so I feel like it's almost coming together a little bit of the mix of the both. And also I've been doing a lot of books too, which I absolutely love. And I love embroidery, I love doing embroidery. So I incorporate that too, and I use a lot of metallic embroidery and, yeah, I enjoy that too.
So all those things roll.
Pretty coming together, yeah.
So the collagraphs tend to be a little bit
The
more
more
abstract,
yeah.
and the linos tend to.
Yeah,
But they're.
fine, they're getting together.
We all have the rejects, I mean.
I know,
Trying to lot.
It used to be one reject draw, now I have two, and I am working, I saw that question, I'm actually working on three things at once, like I've left that aside, go to this one, you know, until I look at it again and that type of thing, but.
I think we all. do.
Yeah.
Work on more than one thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess,
That's the best thing.
yeah.
But it allows you to breathe in between and I think as Deborah said, you know, you create a dialogue, the piece starts talking back
Yes.
to you and telling you what it wants, right? Okay, back to Sarah. So first question, is that anybody in particular taking a nap?
Well, everybody's in need.
Yes.
But I did have a model for that.
Yeah, her strawberries, right?
And I do have dogs. I have one dog now. And so I put the dog always wants to sleep with mom or kiss her toes.
Why did you taking a nap? I think that's a great idea, it's interesting and it's so relaxing to look at, and I think everybody can relate.
Yeah, oh, sure. So I think that sculptures cannot really have a lot of big ideas in them. And my sculptures are not about ideas, they're about emotions and feelings. And sculpture is so different from painting, in that in a painting, you go through a window. But sculpture is right there in the room with you. So you always have to address a question about the nature of the object. And I just think that there are these moments that are so full of emotions and, I mean, really when you think about it, our relationship with dogs is so special because of the way that they're close to us. They have a completely different perception of the world. They see it differently, they smell it differently, they hear it differently. And yet they're so emotionally in tune with us. And they cannot go to sleep until you're asleep. Because they have to watch you every minute if you're awake to see what you're going to do next. So when you sleep with your dog, it's a moment of trust between you. And the idea of a nap is such a great luxury. Because it means that you're not running around doing the million things. So I wanted to have in this piece that's really a luxury and the relationship with the dog and the relaxation and the peacefulness.
And in the nap, she's sleeping on top of the blanket, because it's just a nap. You don't necessarily do again. I remember one of your pieces about somebody in the shower.
Oh, yeah.
So there's always that's sort of everyday kind of topics. So, and they can be kind of funny, like that one was kind of funny.
Yeah, well, you know, I actually like that part of your question because I never consciously say, I'm gonna make something funny. But I do like to amuse myself while I'm working. So I'm just glad that that comes through that way.
So you don't go for funny, it's. Well, maybe it's because you're doing these very sort of. Mundane,
Well, it's a thing that
day-to-day things.
that things are funny also because they're uncomfortable. So the woman screaming in the shower is really about a woman who was quite overwhelmed with everything that's happened to her. And this was actually something somebody told me about. You know, one of my women friends, she's like, I don't know what happened to me. I was in the shower and I just started screaming. And I thought that moment was worth memorializing. And people look at that and they say, oh yeah.
It's your private moment, because the water's kind of.
Right, they have
Nasty
to hear
every
your
time.
shower.
And didn't you have like a tango or a dancer?
I do, I have done many tangos and I have done many conversations. Which are between them and then the tango and the conversation is about, of course, relationships.
Very incisive. Okay, what time do we have? Oh, it's 10 after. So we touched on this a little bit, but the last question, Lola, you wanna ask the last question? What do you feel? Except at the very end, it says, mine is asleep.
So. Anybody can answer this first. What is your next step? Are you staying in course? Or are you changing direction?
I don't see that much.
There's no discourse. Well, I'm gonna answer that.
Sarah,
I'm gonna answer that because I'm doing both.
Sarah's answering.
Sarah's not worse.
I just moved into a new studio. Where I have both pottery wheels and I can do my sculptures. But I also left some space in my old studio where I can start to do flat work. Because I'm a little worried that as I get older and older, it's gonna be harder for me to throw around all this clay, saw wood, saw metal. So it started out by making paper and I've been collaging paper and, you know, we'll see where that goes. I might even do some, you know, paper sculpture.
So new studio,
New studio,
turn the page.
but, well, I'm growing out.
And Robin is joining her MTAX with her figurative, and what else?
Hopefully applying some more shows, getting out in that capacity. The last couple of years, I've had a lot of back issues, so it kind of stopped me. And so now I'm back into doing more. I can, you know, stand a little longer in the studio at the press and, you know, things like that. So hopefully just doing more work. I think about it, like you were saying, I think about it all the time. I'm swimming and I think about it. I don't, I'm laying in bed and I think, what's this, what's that, this is, I look at something and I think, oh, maybe, you know, I'm always thinking about things, so. Continue working and that's.
But it's a reemergence from some health issues.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's
yes, so it's a big thing, I kept looking in my studio going, oh, okay, so, you know, that kind of thing, and be back, and yeah, just working, you know, that's my goal, just. Makes me happy and get in my zone and it's good.
Anybody else?
I'm kind of straddling the line in painting between realism and more looseness, more abstraction. Utilizing new techniques like drips and bubbles and just pushing.
Started a new series, they're 16 by 16 and 6 by 6, so they go together. And they're figurative, but they're not totally figurative in that within the figure is a bud, and the bud, it gets to be a little bit sensual, but it's really about inside, male, female, whatever, and we have this kind of bud looking. But then the figures are surrounded by rocks, painted rocks, and that's sort of how we're enclosed within a space.
Actual rocks or paintings?
Painted rocks,
Paintings.
in the space. So the figures are sort of enclosed to that, even though they have floral growing in them and around them. So working on those.
So no beads.
No, there would be, I
There will be.
There will be.
I think you want, one of their meetings, and they will meet, yes.
Well, let there be peace. And Concha, you said, you sort of answered it already, right?
Well,
What your next show, you said?
oh, well, my next show,
Is it
one
not
show,
already?
another show. Well, yeah, I mean, against the currents, bringing something new. A little bit of this fashion touch that artists, they work with materials, fabrics and stuff. But what they don't know, that I know, but it is my secret. But no, the thing is, gallery is a gallery. It's another part of me, How say, Dr. Jack and Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde. So Dr. Jack will be doing art. Mr. Hyde, I want, after this gallery, after 10 years, Museum of Women Arts in New York. You will be with me.
Yes. I hope so.
This will be the benefit.
I think that's an excellent place to wrap up.
We need to
And I'll
start
have
it.
the show.
We need to start it. As soon as
Yes.
we have a gallery, okay, fine.
Okay,
We need to start it.
any questions from the audience?
That is here.
You're all stars. So much. Good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is interesting, and I know everybody loves it.
Hey,
I will.
Really, I will bring you and. Back, it's like what's up,